Watson, pressure off the edge. Watson survives it and then checks down to Jones. Jones inside the 40.
The Chicago Bears, one of the league's most intriguing teams. They're chock full of potential, as evidenced by their 5-1 start last year, but they finished 2020 at just 8-8 with an abundance of obvious issues. Among them, their supposed quarterback of the future, Mitch Trubisky's constant struggles. Coincidentally, the quarterback market opened up widely this offseason, with franchise-caliber QBs like Deshaun Watson recently announcing their dissatisfaction with their current teams. So, the question becomes, should the Bears risk it all and shell out for the Texans' disgruntled 25-year-old? Before we continue, I should mention, we did have a video not too long ago advocating for the Bears waiting to look quarterback until Mac Jones with their 20th pick in this year's draft. However, with the recent emergence of Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson's request for trade, the issue deserves a second look. There's no doubt that Watson is one of the league's best young stars. In his 4 NFL seasons, he's averaged around 3,600 passing yards per season, has been selected to the Pro Bowl for all 3 seasons since being named a starter, and is only one of 3 other quarterbacks with a career passer rating over 100. Not to mention, he led the league in passing yards last year, even after the Texans traded stud receiver DeAndre Hopkins. So, why does he want out of Houston, and where does he want to go next? For one, the Texans are in the middle of dismantling their key pieces. After winning the AFC South 3 of the previous 4 years, Houston traded Hopkins, a decision that still racks the minds of many Texan fans. That led to a disastrous 4-12 season, and J.J. Watt telling Watson this at the end of their last game.
Good job, brother. I'm sorry. We wasted one of your years. I'm sorry.
Watt was released upon request and joined Arizona, and Will Fuller proved incapable of filling Hopkins' shoes. As for where Watson wants to end up, he's apparently listed no fewer than 4 potential landing spots. What those spots are remain private information, but Chicago would not be the worst place for an established star to step in. Chicago's defense was a bright spot, ranking 12th overall last season, and that would be a huge improvement from what Watson is used to. The Texans ranked an abysmal 27th in total defense. The Bears' biggest problem is their offensive talent, and Watson would certainly fill in some needs there. Allen Robinson is a promising young receiver, and Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery are solid running backs despite Cohen's recent off years. This is certainly a better situation than Houston's offensive woes. Plus, Chicago would greatly benefit from Watson's talent. Mitch Trubisky was 28th in QBR and in the bottom 10 in both passing touchdowns and interceptions. And he's not a good fit for Matt Nagy's college-style system. And guess who would solve all 3 of these issues almost instantaneously? Deshaun Watson. He was 1st in passing yards and 3rd in rushing yards. His prowess in the college-style offense also won him a national title and 2 Heisman nominations at Clemson. He had almost 6 times as many rushing yards than Trubisky last year, and in 2019 he had 93 plays in the run-pass option style Nagy loves. But is Watson a better fit than Russell Wilson, the other high-profile quarterback that could be on the trade market? Frankly, I think it comes down to one simple issue: the feasibility of actually executing a trade for the player. Wilson would, of course, bolster the Bears' failing offense. He ranks 8th in QBR and 9th in passing yards. But there have been some rumblings that Seattle would refuse to trade Wilson, despite the fact that his agent listed the Bears as a primary destination. The Seahawks are far from the implosion the Texans are experiencing. They were 12-4 last season, and they have talent across the board with DK Metcalf and a 13th-ranked overall defense. They really don't have much reason to let Wilson go, other than his reported request for a trade. And with the value he's added to them over the past decade, that may not be enough incentive. Additionally, Wilson is 32. So unless he can showcase the immortality of Tom Brady, he has only a few prime years left for the Bears to enjoy. Deshaun Watson has another advantage over Wilson: the potential salary cap hit. Unlike the immense amount of dead salary cap Russell Wilson carries with him, Watson's salary for 2021 is only $10 million with a cap hit of $15 million. Especially if the Bears unload one of their large contracts onto the Texans like Khalil Mack's, they will easily be able to adjust for Watson. So it seems to me that the Bears are much better off pursuing Watson. He is both more likely to be traded and is a younger, cheaper, and more promising talent. But do they have enough talent of their own to make the deal worthwhile for the Texans? Certainly they could, and likely would have to, give up Khalil Mack, Nick Foles, and/or Mitch Trubisky, and their first-round picks both this year and next. The Texans will surely be looking for a trade package that promises some long-run return through the draft and young talent, but this may not be enough to convince them. Mack is a star, but the Bears' first-rounders are rather late in the round, and their other expendable talent is not quite yet Pro Bowl ready, to say the least. Also, the Bears should not empty out the house for Watson. Despite his best season yet, the Texans went 4-12. He needs a team around him to win. As shown in this potential trade scenario for the Dolphins as reported earlier this week, teams may be tempted to forego too much future value in exchange for present performance. And the Bears do not want another horrible trade from Ryan Pace on their hands again. In 2017, they traded 4 draft picks to move up just 1 spot so they could select Trubisky in the draft. One of those other picks turned into Alvin Kamara, another Fred Warner. Sure, Watson is more a sure thing than Trubisky was, but we should note the Bears need to be mindful of what they give up while still being competitive with the Jets, Dolphins, 49ers, and the Patriots trade packages. Indeed, the return offer could pose problems for the Bears. Still, Deshaun Watson just makes sense for the Bears. Sure, as we discussed in our Mac Jones video, the Bears could headhunt for a quarterback in the draft. But now that Deshaun Watson has potentially entered the trade pool, it seems to be a no-brainer for the Bears to trade for a guaranteed franchise quarterback, one that could lead their squad for the next 10-plus years. They can round out their other offensive holes at the 20th draft spot and maybe, just maybe, start to turn things around. And maybe then they'll be able to appease their rightfully impatient fan base. But at least we know they'll always have these guys on their side.
The Bears. The Bears.